Okay, so today we're going to do some big writing. We're going to continue with our discursive essay where there's two points of view, and this time the subject is whether or not phones should be banned or allowed for children in school. Now, before we do anything, I was quite concerned last time that a lot of you spent ages on your big writing. I don't want that. Okay? So when you're doing your introduction and your arguments for and against, don't go away and research on the internet because a lot of you did that. Really, just get a few views around the house. What do other people think? What do you think yourself? For example, there are things that you can say about phones that you don't need to research. For example, phones can be noisy. Phones are helpful communicating with people if there's an emergency, and so on. You don't need to go away and research. And remember, there are different types of phones, there are different settings on your phones, and so on and so on. So I don't want this to take ages, okay? And I would say from this moment to you finishing, set a limit of an hour and a half, literally, for going through the PowerPoint and for doing everything, because that's really all you would get in school. I might give you an extra 15 minutes, so that would be basically from playtime to lunchtime, and then I might give you an extra 15 minutes in the afternoon. That's what I'm talking about. So an hour and a half would be playtime to lunchtime. It wouldn't be quite because there would be getting changed and everything, and then maybe an extra 15 minutes after. And if you don't finish, you don't finish. That's what happens in class. So instead of spending hours and hours on this, set a limit, which I would say an hour and a half, and then if you want to take a break and come back and do another 15 minutes, and that is it. Okay? So we're going to discuss, this is non-fiction writing, we're going to explore different points of view, tell the reader what the issue is in the opening, so that's an opening paragraph, arguments for, that's the next paragraph, arguments against, that's the next paragraph, logical connectives such as therefore, as a result, however, third person, so remember, not first person, except for example in the final paragraph where you might want to give your own opinion, and not you, not second person. You can take your phone into school, you can answer your phone in school. No. Children can, pupils can. That's how we say it. Third person. Present tense, it's happening now, and as I said, a conclusion where you might want to put in your own point of view. So, environmental, social issues, that's what this is. It's a social issue and environmental, because it affects the environment around you. Environment is just the space around you. It's less about your community. You could argue that it's about you as a citizen. It's not a complaint, but it can help you to formulate ideas and opinions. Okay, so before writing, understand the learning intention and success criteria. So learning intention is to write a discursive essay on whether or not phones should be banned in school. Success criteria, we will look at understanding the purpose of your writing as a discursive essay. Look at models, we'll do that. It's going to be the same model as last time, so we'll rush through. Look at the author's craft, that will be in the model of writing. Key features we'll look at, and if you want to discuss at home, ideas and plan and visualize. Learning outcomes, to become familiar with the content, structure and language features of a discursive text, which we will be doing, and which to a degree we've done because you've already done an essay. To use identified key features to write our own discursive text on mobile phones. Okay, success criteria. I can describe the purpose of a discursive essay, identify and describe the key features of a discursive essay, and write a discursive essay using these identified key features. So a discursive essay is an essay on a controversial topic. The writer of the discursive essay attempts to present both sides. It can be finished by the author giving his or her opinion. So that is the final paragraph, leaving it open. You can decide not to give your opinion, but leave it open for the reader to decide. I'm certain that actually you've got your own opinion already. So framing an argument, the purpose of a balanced argument or discussion is to look at two sides of a subject. It should make your argument stronger to have strong arguments against it, or it should prove you to be in the wrong, in which case you would change your mind, and that does happen. So skills we're looking at, language should be clear and easy to understand. You should have a list of key arguments for and against. You must be able to give evidence for your arguments, and you should keep focused on the subject. So we're going to look at a model text. I'll take that out. Okay. This is, if you remember, is television a benefit to society? So there's a title asking a question. The introduction is clear and simple sentences. There are statistics and figures. A lot of you spent a lot of time on this for the last one. I want you just to think about how many children in your class you know, or you could take the whole of P5, that you know definitely bring phones to school every day. Think about that. Half of our class bring phones. All of the children in our class. I don't know the answer. So, but you probably have a better idea than I do. How many of you are bringing phones to school every day? How many only bring them if there's an emergency? How many don't have a phone? That you probably have a good idea of that. So that is the kind of statistics and figures I'm looking for. I'm not looking for you to go to the internet and find out how many children in Scotland, in Glasgow, take their phones to school every day. Just you use the knowledge that you already know. And again, finishing this paragraph with questions. So we're looking at paragraphs, arguments for the issue with evidence. So should they be banned? What are the reasons? Well, if the phone goes off in class, it's annoying. The phone could get broken in school. Somebody might steal it. There's also this, it causes some people who don't have phones to be put under pressure. I'm not going to say bullied, but often children who don't have something are put under pressure because they don't have it. So there's some reasons that don't need you to go away and research them. Logical connectives and openers, and formal non-emotional language. So don't use things like I feel. It's not about your emotions. It doesn't matter how you feel about the subject. It is what is and what isn't. Then arguments against. Again, don't go away and spend ages on what effects too much screen time can have on your mind. Think more about that would be on the other side. So this is against them being banned. Think about how useful it is. For example, if you don't know who's picking you up, think how useful, for example, if there's likely to be a change in plan, or think about if you've forgotten your homework and you wanted to send your mum a text to say, can you bring my homework in? That's the kind of thing you could put in without having to go away and do some research. Present tense, third person, and that says evidence research. That is the thing that I want you to do minimally, because I think that's one of the reasons why people were taking so long on this. Finally, the conclusion. Notice the first words there are in conclusion. That is a great way to start that paragraph. Author's opinion. So this is when you can say I believe or I think. It's better to stick with I think or I know than I believe, because a belief has a degree of uncertainty. And definitely don't use I feel. That's not a good term to use in an argument. Unless you're going to say, I feel sad that I don't have a phone. I don't know. So conditionals. If a child doesn't have a phone, he or she can't phone home at lunchtime. That might be considered a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know how your parents would feel if you phoned them every playtime and lunchtime to tell them how you were getting on. They might like that or they might not. You could ask them. Okay, key features of a discursive essay. Title asking a question, introduction with simple sentences, arguments for, arguments against, formal, non-emotional language, paragraphs. You should be looking at least 4 paragraphs. Present tense, third person, statistics, and that is that something like 50% of the children in school bring a phone in our school. 100% don't bring a phone, or whatever the statistic is. Research findings. Keep that. Research is asking the people in your house, or you could phone somebody else and ask them. I don't expect you to spend ages researching this. Conditionals. So if it's raining, I might need my mum to bring me a cagoule. Okay? Questions, especially at the end of the first paragraph. Logical connectives, a conclusion with your opinion. So during writing, you should always have an understanding. You should have an idea, visualize ideas of where you're going. Discuss your ideas. So at any point you can stop and ask whoever is at home with you what they think. I'll send you a mind map or a planning grid. You've got the model text. Look at your planning grid. Look at word banks or other tools. You can use a dictionary if you want. Check your technical targets. Check that your writing makes sense. Remember who your audience is. Okay, so this is our question. Should mobile phones be banned in school? So for your planning, just ask family members to help you come up with 2 arguments for and 2 arguments against. For each argument, think of some evidence. So phones can be annoying in school. The evidence of that is they can ring in school, they can annoy other people. Phones can break in school. The evidence is that there's that you must know of things that have broken in school. Somebody's knocked it over. Things get stolen in school. It does happen. It's not a big problem in Mount Vernon, but it does happen in schools. So on. Okay, so try and keep your research just to a discussion. Use the planning sheet. You don't have to hand me in the planning sheet. The only thing I'm really interested in is the final essay. Okay, the planning sheet is really to help you. It's not really for me to assess. I'm just interested in your final essay. Should mobile phones be banned in school? Introduction, explaining what the discussion is about, arguments for, arguments against, support with your arguments, with evidence, summary, rounding it off. Success criteria, including an introduction, giving your arguments for and against, include some evidence, use logical connectives such as therefore, as a result, however, write in the third person, using the present tense, include a conclusion. You must be getting sick of me saying that because it's repeated over and over. So here are a list of connectives, however, although, nevertheless, despite, since, therefore, indeed, meanwhile, as a result. In addition, furthermore, it could be argued, first of all, finally, due to, for example, even though, in conclusion. So I want to see some of these words in your essay. Structural features, a title, a statement of the issue being addressed, paragraphs, arguments for, arguments against, conclusion, personal opinion, and that is optional, but it would be great if it was there. So use of present tense, it could be argued, many people think that is the language of debate. Sequential phrases like in addition to, as well as. Logical connectives, therefore, however. Technical vocabulary, pollution. Well, you could look at pollution, but you're thinking more about noise pollution here, which is a thing. Reasoning, it may seem that, and conditionals, would, could, might, if, which is something that we looked at last 2 weeks ago. Writing a balanced argument. We need a title. Should mobile phones be banned? Paragraph. You can stop at any point to check your writing. Have you forgotten anything? Have you forgotten anything important? Doesn't make sense. Have you checked your technical targets? So then, evidence for, or arguments for, again, they're saying 2 paragraphs for that. I'm happy with just 1. Arguments against, again, there's 2 paragraphs here, but I'm happy with 1. And then your final paragraph would be your conclusion. So when you're done, go back, check to see if you've achieved everything, check your technical targets, ask someone to read over it, discuss feedback, maybe you can make some improvements, and then publish your writing, send it to. Okay, and finally, when you're done, check for correct layout, check your title, your paragraphs, your logic, and so on and so on. Now, let me just say again, this is something that should really be handed in today. It shouldn't take all day. From this point on, really, it shouldn't take you more than an hour. A little bit of discussion, and then some writing. When you're doing a discussion, that's when to use your plans, write everything down. Again, you can send it to me if you want, but I don't need to see that. What I do want to see is the essay itself, and yes, it shouldn't take all day, because this is, you would only get a short period of time to do it in school, and as I say, sometimes after lunchtime you would get an extra 10 or 15 minutes. We would try and squeeze that in. So yes, think about your time scale, and yes, I'm looking forward to reading these.